There is nothing more heart-wrenching sometimes than getting mixed signals from someone that we're really into. And it can be so confusing because if we feel that we're being consistent in how we're showing them that we like them, and then we think we're getting it from them, but then we see a couple of things that make us go, should that be a red flag? Well, sometimes how a woman can show her interest in a man and her investment can be different to how a man shows that he is really into a girl. And that means that we can get our wires crossed. So today I'm gonna go through some mixed signals you might be getting from a guy that actually mean he's really into you. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Kit, your personal dating guru, and in today's video, I'm gonna go through 6 mixed signal signs that a guy is actually into you, even if you think this 1 or 2 signals may be thinking, actually, maybe he's not that into me. But before we get into that, you know I always love hearing from you. So come find me on Instagram, drop me a message about this video, or if you wanna get a one-to-one session with me, just click the link below. All right, now let's get into the video. So the first most obvious mixed signal that can really confuse a lot of women about whether a guy is really into her or not is if he stops trying to have lustful sex with you. Not that he's trying to stop having sex with you, but it's not the same level of lust as what he used to before. I mean, okay, if we're gonna put it plainly, he was trying to f with you all the time. Okay, he was trying to get it in the bathroom, in the cafe, in the cinema. He was constantly trying to get it in with you. But now you find that the heat of lust and passion in that sense, you feel like that's dimmered a little bit. And you're starting to question, okay, is he not attracted to me anymore? Is he having sex with someone else? Does he not like me? Is he pulling away? But the truth is, when it comes to men find it harder to purely sexually objectify a woman that he is emotionally invested in. The more he cares about a woman, the more he is starting to build emotional affection for her, the harder it is for him to sexually objectify her. I know it's a really weird thing because it's not that guys do this on purpose, but it's like it's much easier to objectify the woman that he has zero emotional connection or investment in compared to the woman that he dearly cares about. And surely this is a nice thing to hear, right? But then what can often happen is when we hear, you know, wives say when they've been in marriages for longer than 10 or 15 years, you know, they will literally say,
you know, I've not been f***ed in a long time.
And that has nothing to do because his husband doesn't love her or isn't even sexually attracted to her. It's more to do with the amount of love and intimacy that he does have with her, especially if she's the mother of his children. There's more of an instinct to protect her as opposed to purely objectify her. Now, don't get me wrong. There's actually nothing wrong with sexually objectifying someone so long as it is consensual objectification. So a really good example of this is porn stars are literally there to be sexually objectified, right? Except for they're doing it because they're getting monetary gain. And to be honest, some of them love to be objectified. There are plenty of Insta models on Instagram who are putting themselves out there to be sexually objectified because the rewards come in monetary gain or, you know, in followers or status or position. And let's be honest, when you're with your partner, you want your partner to look at you sometimes and go, ooh,
you're looking like a snack right now.
We want that. Desire is very important. So if you find that he is lusting over you less, it's probably because he is loving into you more. This next mixed signal that can confuse a lot of women is that the sex becomes softer as opposed to more brazen. And this kind of ties into the point that I just made, but the reason the sex may become more softer as opposed to more hard-hitting, excusing the pun, is because he cares about you more. He cares more about you and more about the intimacy that he has with you. He wants to know that you're having as much fun as he is, that it feels as good for you as it does for him. I mean, let's be honest. How many times have you had the experience when a guy was just having sex with you purely for his own sake, where he was just very selfish? It was very clear that he was just using you as a way to get his ends meet, where he didn't actually care whether you got to the finish line, whether you were enjoying it, what things you liked. And more often than not, when a guy is only thinking about his pleasure and his needs in the bedroom, the sex can be very brazen. It's not sensitive. It's not genuine. degenerate. It's not listening, and there's not enough awareness. But when a guy really starts to like and care about you, the more his focus on sex becomes less about him and the focus becomes more on you, which translates to him being more softer, more attentive, and a bit more sensitive with you. This next signal that can be confusing for women is that he starts to distance himself a little bit in regards to communication. Yes, usually when a guy is distancing himself from you through communication, you feel he's responding less, he's not initiating as much. Usually there's two reasons for this. One, he just sees you as a sexual option, so he doesn't feel the need to put in as much effort as he used to, because now you become a sexual option that he can engage with whenever he feels like it. Or two, he's just not interested, or he's lost interest in you because he's either met someone else or he's just realized that you're not the person for him. However, the difference in him distancing himself from communication when he likes you is that if you give him a few days, or I'd even say maybe a work week, when he comes back messaging you consistently, it will be as consistent, if not more, than it was before. And the reason there's a space, or he seems to require a little bit of space from you at a very crucial point, is because he's starting to reflect on how he feels about you. There's been a shift in his emotional well-being and his emotional intention with you, and he needs time to acknowledge and process this. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Well, Kit, why can't a guy be messaging me and talking to me at the same time as him processing and acknowledging his feelings that he may be having for me now? Why does he need the space? And here's the reason why. Because generally speaking, men and women process their emotions very differently. A lot of the time with a woman, when she's got some kind of emotional turmoil or some emotional happiness or whatever, a lot of the time what will happen is she'll have her emotion here and she'll bring it to her friends, and they'll be like, okay, let's analyze this thing. What is going on here? What do you think? What do you think? This is what I think, right? Whereas guys, we're the complete opposite. When we have an emotion that we're not sure about, that we don't understand, we tend to go into a room, we're like, okay, nobody look at this until I figure out exactly what's going on here and I know how I can express it in the best way possible. And it's only when we've done that we then want to share it with people. So the reason he wants to take that distance is because every time he communicates with you, that's emotional interference for him trying to process how much he likes you and how much he wants this to go and how far he wants to go with you. It's kind of like trying to cook a new recipe. Imagine you've got to a point in the stage where, okay, you're tasting it and you're seeing whether it needs more pepper, more sauce, more salt, or whatever, and someone's like, hey, no, let's just continue making it and we can taste it along the way. It doesn't work for him that way. So look, there's nothing wrong with allowing a guy a bit of space, okay? There's nothing wrong if he starts to distance himself a little bit with you, okay? That's probably just him reflecting. But when he comes back, that's how you know that he's really into you. This next thing, which I'll admit I have done myself, is that he wants to see you without having sex with you. As in, he might want to go on a date with you and there's an opportunity for you to spend the night together, but he chooses not to. Now, if I'm gonna be honest, the kind of guy that's gonna move this way is gonna be the kind of guy who's very emotionally mature and has a certain level of his emotional awareness. I realize that just makes it sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but hey, believe in your own source, right? The kind of guy who cares about his emotional growth. But this also means that he values exercise and discipline to see where he is within himself about someone or about something. So the reason it may happen where you go on a date and you could spend the night together, but he chooses not to spend the night with you, or maybe you do spend the night, but he chooses not to have sex with you, is because he wants to see how much he likes you. He wants to see how much does he like you outside of sex. Is he only into you because he really enjoys having sex and the physical intimacy with you? Or is he actually into you because he likes you for who you are? He actually enjoys spending time with you, with your clothes on. Now look, this isn't something that should be happening 3, 4, 5 times. This is likely something to just happen maybe once or twice. Because if we're being honest, guys love to have sex with girls that they're interested in. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. This next crazy signal that might make you raise an eyebrow is he asks about your best friend. So you're seeing this guy, everything is going well, right? You've been seeing each other for maybe several weeks, maybe a few months, and you find in conversation, he's asking more about your girl best friend. Maybe he's met her once, maybe he's met her twice, maybe you've talked about her a lot. But it seems that he keeps asking about what's going on with her, what's she up to, how is she doing? And that can make you think, yo, is this guy interested in my friend? Like, is this guy trying to monkey branch from me to my friend? Is he trying to use me to get in with my friend? And then you start to compare yourself to your girlfriend being, am I hotter than her? Is she better looking than me? Does she have better hair? Is she in better shape? You start to think all these things. You start to compare yourself to your best friend. And then before you know it, you don't even want this guy to meet your best friend anymore because you think he might be taking interest in her. Well, relax. He ain't trying to monkey branch his way from you to your girl, okay? If you told him that this girl is one of your best friends, the reason he's asking about her is because if she's important to you and he wants to continue things with you, then indirectly she's going to become important to the relationship. He also wants to make sure that he gets on with her because he knows that to be with you, it's going to be important that he can at least get on with your closest girlfriend. Because if he can't, it's a recipe for a disaster and chaos. This next sign, which isn't really a mixed signal if you understand how guys work, but it can be a mixed signal for girls, is that he calls you more, but he texts you less. So I'm gonna have to tell you something you probably don't wanna hear, but here's the truth. For some guys out here, texting all the time can feel like a chore. It's not that he doesn't want to talk to you, he doesn't want to know how your day's going and everything like that. And I know this can sound weird compared to maybe at the beginning when you were messaging all the time. But more often than not, when it comes to communication, guys care more about quality rather than quantity. Now I get it. You might be someone where constant communication is how you feel close to someone. It's how you feel you can integrate someone into your life because you're sharing what's going on with each other. But really, phone calls is much higher quality than text messaging. Because in a phone call, you can rat off several things that you've been doing that day or the past couple of days. You can hear the tone of the voice, you can hear the laughter you share. You know, over a phone call, you can build more chemistry. You can even build foreplay over a phone call. And this is why a lot of guys prefer phone calls over texting, because for them, it's a better use of their time and they get to dedicate an hour or 2 hours to you, as opposed to, okay, let me try and text her while I'm on the way to this meeting. Well, okay, let me just try and text her while I've got a 5-minute break. Whereas a phone call, it's an actual dialogue. It's not a, let me just drop a little message and then I'll reply to you in 3 or 4 hours, where the question or message may not even be relevant anymore. However, the key difference between a guy being bad at texting because he's not interested in you, even if he calls you, is about consistency. Is he consistent with having phone calls with you? So if he has let's say he has 2 or 3 phone calls a week with you, is that something that's consistent, or does he have 1 phone call 1 week and then you don't really text much and you have a phone call the next week and then you might text a little bit more and then he doesn't have a phone call with you for like the next 3 or 4 weeks? Consistency is what we need to look out for, because people communicate differently as well. And if I'm gonna keep it 100 and just keep it real with you, guys will not have phone calls with girls that they're not really into, okay? Because for him, if he's only into a girl because he's only seeing her as a sexual option, a phone call for him is way more effort than he's willing to put in for that. Have you ever got any of these signals that makes you think, oh, is he actually into me? Or is there something that you just heard that you thought, you know what, actually, now you can see how that is a sign that he's into you? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you're looking for a guy who sparks up your love life, make sure you subscribe to this wonderful tribe. And as always, keep it slick.
Pow.